Somebody asked me to talk about Superman Returns. So let's talk about Superman Returns. Uh, I believe that Man of Steel and Superman Returns both came out at the wrong time. I think that both of these movies would have done far better if they had flipped. If Man of Steel was the first Superman movie, if Man of Steel took Superman Returns spot and Superman Returns was to take Man of Steel spot, I think reception to both of the movies would have been better. I think that Man of Steel's directing style definitely fits the earlier tone of like the early 2000s, where the early 2000s was like X-Men, X-Men 2, X-Men 3, Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3. Man of Steel would have fit that bombast where it tells a simple story, there's a ton of action, there's a hot Superman, and that's it. Superman Returns is more of a noir film. It's a film about emotion and looking for your place in the world. Where I really feel as though this Superman film, Superman Returns and The Batman with Robert Pattinson, had come out the exact same year, DC would have blown that year out of the water. And what I mean by that is this film isn't heavy on action. It's heavy on storytelling. It's a story about Superman. And funny enough, this film is a continuation. It's either a sequel to Superman 2 or it's a sequel to Superman 1. I do believe it's a sequel to Superman 2. I don't know off the top of my head, but I know it's a direct sequel to the first two Christopher Reeve Superman films. It's a film about Superman protecting and saving the world and him wanting to explore his own heritage, his history of where he came from and leaving the world. But upon leaving the world, he leaves behind the emotional connections that he's basically made with everyone. Because for, let's say, his mother, Martha Kent, she knows that her son has gone to the stars to basically look for his home, and she knows that one day he will return. But for the everyday human who's just basically walking around on the planet, one day you have Superman flying around saving people, and the next thing you know, he's gone. He's disappeared. He doesn't tell you why. He doesn't explain that he's going to be gone for a bit. He just disappears. For someone who loves him, like Lois Lane, once again, he's just gone with no explanation whatsoever. And she's left to hold that emotional baggage. A lot of this movie is about the way in which people basically process their emotions. And then he returns. But he returns to a world that's basically moved on from him. Not moved on from needing him, but basically moved on from having that connection with him where they're always looking up in the sky expecting him to basically swoop in and save them. Where Lois Lane has moved on from him. The Daily Planet has moved on from him. Then when he returns, they basically get right back on him. Perry White is like, yep, if you got anything inside the sports section, cancel it. Everything's about Superman. Bring me pictures of Superman. That's more or less how you would expect the world to react. A hero that they thought was dead. A hero that basically disappeared. He's no longer news. But then the hero returns. He returns in this great fanfare way where he saves the plane from crashing at the baseball game. And he's instantaneously news. So for Lois Lane, she has a kid. But she's also in a relationship because her kid's like 8, 6, and she's been with this dude for like 5 years. And one of the things I actually like about Richard is the fact that he's not a dick. He's like genuinely a good guy. Like, he does things for Lois Lane's son. Like, he takes him flying. He treats him as though he's his own son. He knows that he has like these illnesses and these issues, and he makes sure that he's taking his medication and he's drinking water. Like, you see him interacting with Lois, telling her not to smoke, but also not being like a hard ass on her, understanding her position and where she's coming from because she used to be in love with Superman. Like, Lois says that Superman's in trouble. Lois is in danger. He doesn't have powers, but he hops into his plane and he takes off just like Superman would to go and save the woman that he loves. He shows up. He's able to save them. And he almost fails. And then Superman swoops in and saves them all anyway. But then the thing you have to understand about Superman is, where does he fit into this new relationship dynamic where he has a son? And then Lois Lane is married to this great guy. Does he come back and wedge himself in? Does he basically stand back and let this relationship, he's dealing with like a lot of these human emotions that he didn't think he would ever have to deal with before, like jealousy and melancholy and all of these negative things. And this movie is I'm telling you, this movie would have done better today than it did back then. People did not appreciate it back then because what they saw was a slow, sappy romance Superman film, and what they wanted was Man of Steel. Do I think that this is the best Superman film they've ever made? Yes. I know a lot of people were like, but what about the original Christopher Reeve films? The original Christopher Reeve films are really good, but they did not age well. There are a lot of themes in the original ones, and then a lot of like Superman lore in the original ones that really weren't that good. This Superman film is perfectly acted. Everyone acts their ass off in this film. It looks like a work of art. If you didn't know better, I would say that this story is basically the early story of the Superman from Kingdom Come. Like, that is how Metropolis looks. That is how the world in which he inhabits looks. It all looks absolutely fantastic. But audiences back then, they weren't interested in it. And I can understand why. I remember when I went to the movie theater, I really didn't like that it focused so much on his emotions and how he was feeling and the way in which he basically was looking at the world. I think that there's that one fantastic shot where he's just in space and his eyes are closed, and I don't think his eyes were closed, I think that was somebody else. Like, he's listening to just everything that's going on the planet. And you realize that the job of being Superman is a difficult one, because you can't be everywhere at once, but you're hearing everything that's happening across the entire planet, and you have to tune a lot of it out and just focus on what's in front of you. And for him, he's trying to focus on Metropolis until he hears something really dangerous or disastrous happening on the opposite side of the world, and then he's off to basically go and deal with that. Oh man, I really wish that like this movie hadn't tanked Brandon Routh's career. He was a perfect pick to basically pick up the mantle of being Superman. I love the fact that the CW brought him back to, like I said, be the Kingdom Come Superman, which was a continuation of that universe. That was absolutely fantastic, but he really deserved a lot more recognition for playing a really good Superman than he got. Like, the dude was basically Christopher Reeve 2.0, and because the movie didn't strike a chord with audiences, the sequel was canceled. He was kind of blackballed and a little bit blacklisted for a while, where he wasn't getting movie roles because they were blaming him for the Superman movie failing. It wasn't his fault. The movie was basically just released at the wrong time, and it wasn't what people were looking for. But let me know what you think about Superman Returns. Comment down below, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.